Salesforce is in the news again, and unfortunately, it's for all the wrong reasons. A new cybersecurity problem has just rocked the tech world, and it is raising serious questions about the safety of one of the biggest software platforms on the planet. But here's the twist. The vulnerability wasn't in Salesforce itself. It came from the third-party apps that thousands of companies plug into it every single day. So today, we're going to break down exactly what happened, why it's a much bigger deal than you might think, and what this means for the future of Salesforce and the entire cloud software industry. Recently, Salesforce announced it had detected some very unusual activity. This activity was traced back to several popular apps made by a company called Gainsight. Now, if you're not in the tech or sales world, you might not have heard of Gainsight, but they are a big deal. Their tools are used by countless Salesforce customers to manage customer relationships, automate critical business workflows, and visualize data in powerful dashboards. They're deeply integrated into the daily operations of many businesses. But Salesforce discovered something alarming. These apps might have created a backdoor, allowing unauthorized access to sensitive customer data. Think about that for a second. The very tools companies were using to better serve their customers may have exposed them. As soon as Salesforce identified the threat, they took immediate and drastic action. They shut down access for all the digital keys, or tokens, connected to those Gainsight apps and yanked the applications from their official marketplace, the AppExchange. Imagine being a company that relies on these tools. You walk into the office one morning or log on from home and find your essential workflows are dead in the water. Your integrations are disabled. But that's not even the worst part. The most terrifying question is the one left hanging in the air. Was a stranger in our system looking at our data? Cybersecurity experts are now trying to figure out the full extent of this breach, and the initial findings are pretty concerning. Early reports suggest that over 200 separate Salesforce customer environments could have been compromised. Making matters worse, the digital footprints of this attack have been linked to a known cyber criminal group. This isn't some amateur hacker. This is an organized group that has a history of targeting large enterprise platforms. Their goal is always the same: to steal valuable business data, sensitive customer information, and confidential internal records. Now, if this were a one-off incident, it would be bad enough. But it's not. This is the second time this year that a similar breach has happened within the Salesforce ecosystem. Earlier in the year, a different third-party integration led to another data exposure incident. So, this latest event with Gainsight is pouring gasoline on a fire of growing concern. The Salesforce ecosystem, with its vast network of third-party apps, has become a very attractive target for cybercriminals. Why? Because while Salesforce's own core platform is famously secure, the hundreds of smaller apps that connect to it might not be. They can become the weak link in the chain. For so many businesses, Salesforce is the central nervous system of their customer operations. It's the single source of truth for everything: client contact details, sales pipelines, support case records, contract information, you name it. It all flows through Salesforce. So even if Salesforce's own fortress remains unbreached, a vulnerability in a connected app is like leaving a side door unlocked. It still gives intruders a path to the crown jewels data that should never, ever fall into the wrong hands. This incident shines a massive spotlight on a dangerous reality of modern cloud software. A platform is only as secure as the weakest application connected to it. And it's not uncommon for a large company using Salesforce to have dozens, if not hundreds, of these third-party integrations running at all times. Each one represents a potential point of failure. As you can imagine, there are still a lot of unanswered questions swirling around this breach. First, which specific companies were affected? So far, no official list has been released to the public. Second, what exact data was accessed? For some, it might have been limited to basic business contact information. For others, it could have been far more sensitive, like detailed customer support cases or internal notes. Third, how long was this vulnerability being exploited before it was discovered? The timeline remains unclear. And finally, will this lead to regulatory fines or lawsuits? Given the increasing focus on data privacy laws like GDPR and CCA, that is a very real possibility, depending on the severity of the data loss. Until the full investigation is complete, we won't know the true scope of the damage, and that uncertainty alone is enough to make any Salesforce customer extremely nervous. Now, you might be thinking, well, if it wasn't Salesforce's fault, why are they getting all the heat? That's a fair question. The vulnerability was in Gainsight's apps, not Salesforce's code. But in the world of enterprise software, perception is reality. When a company buys into the Salesforce ecosystem, they expect Salesforce to ensure that every app available on its marketplace meets rigorous security standards. When one of those apps fails and exposes data, the customer doesn't just blame the small app developer. They blame Salesforce for allowing a vulnerable product into its walled garden. This creates two massive problems for the software giant. The first is trust erosion. Big, high-paying clients are now likely to second-guess their reliance on third-party apps. They might start asking, is the convenience of this integration worth the risk? This could lead to a chilling effect on the very ecosystem that has made Salesforce so powerful. The second problem is the intense pressure now on Salesforce. The company is facing heavy scrutiny over its entire vetting process for third-party apps. How does it approve them? How closely does it monitor them for security flaws? What are the baseline security requirements for being listed on the exchange? These are the tough questions that regulators, customers, and investors are all going to be asking. For those who follow the stock market, this incident adds another layer of concern for investors. Salesforce has already been dealing with pressure from activist investors to improve its profitability and focus its strategy. A major security scare like this, which casts doubt on the company's ability to protect its massive ecosystem, is the last thing it needed. It raises fundamental questions about whether Salesforce can continue to expand its app marketplace at a rapid pace while also guaranteeing its security. So what's the big takeaway here? This isn't just a story about one company's bad week. It's a cautionary tale for the entire cloud industry. As businesses become more reliant on interconnected platforms, the attack surface expands. The security of your data is no longer just about protecting your own systems. It's about the security of every single vendor and app you connect to. For individuals, it's a reminder that our data is often held in complex chains of systems, and a break anywhere along that chain can affect us. For businesses, this is a wake-up call to rigorously vet every single piece of software they integrate into their core platforms. You have to ask the hard questions about security, not just functionality. We'll be keeping a close eye on this story as it develops and more details emerge from the investigation. What do you think? Does this change your view of Salesforce or cloud software in general? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you found this breakdown helpful, be sure to like the video and subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest stories in tech. See you in the next one.